Fight week is here and UFC 287 is this weekend. Mark and I are going to go over our predictions. But before we do that, if you're brand new here, make sure you subscribe as we have new videos every single week. So, Mark, let's get into it. We have Alex Pereira having his first title defense against the ex-champion, Israel Adesanya. What is your prediction for this fight and why?
My prediction for Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya is
Israel likes lasagna.
Jesus. I think, I've been toying back and forth all week because you think Israel's going to have to come out and make a statement. Surely he can't just scrape a decision win, like his fight with Jared Cannonier, that kind of thing. He knows he's got that power because it rocked him. He's knocked out Robert Whittaker in the past. I think Alex is just too powerful, if I'm honest. I think I'm going to go for Alex, and I think he's probably going to get it done via knockout as well. What do you think? Do you think Israel Adesanya can beat Alex Pereira?
Oh, yes, I do actually. With this card, I'm going to go for some bold predictions. I am going Israel Adesanya knocking out Alex Pereira within the first 2 rounds. I know it sounds ridiculous, but everyone says if he's going to win this, he has to be perfect for 25 minutes. So just be perfect for 10. Knock him out, get him out early. Because in that first round, in their last fight, he really hurt him at the end of that first round. And in their kickboxing match, Alex was doing an 8 standing count. So he can hurt him. So I think just do it. You've got nothing to lose now, is it? Just come out, show who you are, and batter him. Get him finished as quickly as possible. That's what I think. I know it's quite bold, but that's my prediction for this fight.
No, I think it's 100% a possibility. Israel, I still regard him as one of the best strikers in the UFC in general. Yeah. I just think, for 25 minutes potentially, if you can't avoid, you're guaranteed to be hit with that vicious left hook at some point. And I think he's going to connect, and I think he's going to connect big.
Yeah. Well, and talking about that left hook, that sort of brings me into my next question. Do you think that Israel will come in a little bit scared this time? Because, if you've lost to someone 3 times already, been knocked out twice, and then lost a decision, that must loom over you, right? Do you think that's going to affect Izzy a lot in this fight?
No, to be frank. I think Israel is probably one of the most composed fighters that there ever has been. I don't think he fights emotionally. You look at how chill focus he is before every single fight. I don't think he takes anyone lightly. He comes in ready for anything, it seems. Some people say, oh, well, they didn't expect a round 5 knockout, etc., etc. Fights happen like that. Yeah, he's one of the most cool, calm, and composed fighters that there are. I don't think it will affect him that much. You look at how he reacted. He took the loss well last year, after he dominating, but it has surely, as a person, it's got to affect you, as in the sense he got beat twice by this guy in kickboxing, transition to MMA, was the absolute don of the middleweight division for a long time, and then this guy who beat you twice has come over and knocked you out. He's the one to dethrone you. Surely that could, I'm saying it could affect you, but it is Adesanya. I don't think it will. I think he can see through that. He's so mentally strong, I think.
Yeah, I agree, actually. I think you're right. I think it'll have the complete opposite effect. I think it'll make him more motivated and more passionate about the fight rather than being afraid and timid. Because if he's afraid and timid, that's when he's going to get caught. I think he needs to be aggressive here, and he needs to show why he is who he is. But I also wonder, do you think that Alex Pereira is really going to struggle with this weight cut? Because last time he barely made weight. He literally had, seconds left to weigh in? And do you think that will be a real struggle for him this time? Do you think he'll come out and be quite fatigued with such a big cut?
Well, he's the size of a bloody cave troll from the Fellowship of the Ring, isn't he? So it's no wonder. But I mean, he's made that weight a few times before. But maybe, weight cutting, obviously you can tell that I don't know too much about any sort of weight. But I don't know. I think this is a real important fight. He knows how important it is. He's got an absolute pro like Glover Teixeira who's in his corner. I think he's going to aid him through that, like as in, yeah, okay, you won the fight, but the weight cut was nasty. Let's really sharpen these tools. I think he's going to be taking it dead serious in order to get the desired outcome that he wants. Well, do you think that Alex is going to struggle with the weight cut?
Yeah, I think he might even miss weight. That's what I'm worried about. I hope they've got a good backup for this fight because something really could happen. I think when you're that big and you've cut it that fine last time, because I know it's only little, but that extra, what is it, 0.5 pounds, whatever it is a big cut. So I just want to know, can he do it? But let's move on to the co-main event. We have Jorge Masvidal versus Gilbert Burns. The BMF title is not on the line. I feel like it should be. But Mark, what's your prediction for this fight and why?
I think the BMF title should get thrown in the bin, to be honest with you, Dwain. But hey, maybe that's for another show.
Look, the BMF title is the most prestigious title in all of combat sports history, yeah? It's that, the Winged Eagle, the Ring Magazine.
The Hardcore Championship, the Money in the Bank briefcase.
But anyway, what's your predictions?
Well, it's very easy for everyone just to run over Masvidal and just say Gilbert Burns 100% is going to smash him. But do you think Masvidal isn't expecting a BJJ expert to come out and perform BJJ on him? Double J, that is, by the way. But so I think
I'm not looking at your search history.
No, definitely don't. No, there's some funky images. I think Masvidal is too long in the tooth just to come out and expect, I'm just going to get a knockout straight away. I mean, look at what happened a few years ago where there was a grappling expert in Ben Askren. He wanted to come out and grapple Masvidal, and within the first 5 seconds, that was him flat on his ass. But obviously, that isn't going to happen with Gilbert Burns. I think if you tried running knee Gilbert Burns, his neck would snap your knee in half. But I still think it's probably going to be a Burns decision. What do you think? Do you think Masvidal has the power to knock out Gilbert Burns?
Yes, I think he does. And that's why I'm actually going to pick Masvidal to win this fight. I know I'm going crazy this card, but I really think there's going to be something really interesting. I think Burns has all of the tools to beat Masvidal. I think he should beat him, but I think he's going to get drawn into a firefight. And he's been dropped a couple of times. He's not got the best chin in the world. And I think if he does get drawn into that firefight, Masvidal's going to knock him out. And I think he's going to get it. I think he's going to knock him out. I
mean, as a fan, I do like Masvidal because he's just violence personified. So like that's exactly what you want in a UFC fight, isn't it? So I'd love for him to get it done, especially because he's not the youngest fighter anymore, and he's been around forever. He's not afraid of a brawl. He's a fan favorite. I would like to see him get it done, but then again, I do like Burns as well. This is just me being a selfish fan. Obviously, anyone gets clipped by Jorge Masvidal, you can go down like a sack of spuds. To be honest, so it is definitely a possibility. It just depends on how the fight plays out. Like we've seen too many times a grapple heavy fight for Masvidal, and you just think this is a bad night at the office for him, especially at the age he's at. I don't think you could master a new skill as well, as someone who's been training it the whole life. But if it does get into a slugfest and a dogfight, I think you could be right there. I think Masvidal could get it done. Maybe it's just the fans inner speaking though. Because imagine that if Masvidal, after the bit of a losing skid that he's on, if he comes out and knocks out Dwain Burns.
Yeah, well, it's certainly possible. But I do wonder, talking about Masvidal sort of learning a new skill, he was saying, for the last 6 months, all I've been doing is training wrestling. 6 months is not enough time. Surely not. So if Burns does manage to get him down, do you think that's it for Masvidal? It's kind of over, especially fighting someone with such high-level jiu-jitsu.
I mean, he can withstand the deep waters, but it just depends on if he can capitalize on that. It can keep them at bay, like maybe prevent a submission, that kind of thing. But again, it just depends on how the fight goes. I'm actually really excited to see this fight. Whenever you see Masvidal's name on a card, and Burns for me personally, because I do really like both fighters, it just draws eyes to it. It sells, so it's I'm really looking forward, and I'm interested to see how this fight plays out. This is one of them fight cards, and I just can't wait for.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited. And then in the middle of the card, we have Adrian Yanez versus Rob Font. Mark, what's your prediction for this fight and why?
I think Rob Font's gonna score a decision win. To be honest, I don't think he's quite the absolute top level, but I think he's good enough to, he's proved why he's there, and I think he's going to secure a decision win. I can't see this fight ending in a finish. What do you think? Do you think Rob Font can get it done?
I think he could get it done for sure, but I'm going to go Yanez here. I think he's much younger, and I think he's a lot more hungry. I think we're going to have a really fun stand-up fight here, but I think with that youth of Yanez, it's just going to pull him forward to get that decision win near the end. I think, it will have a close back and forth, first and second rounds, then Rob will start to get tied in the third, and Yanez will just pull away and secure that third round win. And then we have Santiago Ponzinibbio fighting fan favorite Kevin Holland. Mark, what's your prediction for this fight and why?
I think we're going to see Kevin Holland get back in the win column here. I think Santiago, as vicious as he was/is, I think, he's getting a little bit older now. And you see that in his last fights. You've seen the power that he used to possess. I'm not saying he doesn't have that power anymore, but I'm just saying with younger fighters, up and coming sort of thing, it looks like, I mean, no disrespect whatsoever, but it looks like he can't keep up as well. And especially with someone young, hungry, and as unpredictable and wild as Kevin Holland is, I think Kevin could even get a finish here. I could see a submission or a knockout happening. Do you think Santiago possesses that power still to finish Kevin Holland?
He certainly has the power to finish him, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to finish him. I think we've got a 3-round fight here, and Kevin Holland's pretty durable, unless he gets headbutted in the head, which is fair enough. I think that'll drop most of us. But I agree with you here. I think Kevin Holland's just too young, too hungry, and a pretty well-rounded fighter. So I think he's going to scrape a decision here. But with Kevin Holland, I feel like with his last fight with Wonderboy, he fought quite stupidly. He just refused to grapple with Wonderboy. And even when he had him on the ground, he let him get back up. I thought, come on, Kevin, what are you doing? Do you think he's going to learn his lesson in this fight and really just focus on a more tactical fight?
Well, I understand that, Kevin, he understands that he isn't the best grappler in the world. Do you remember the Khamzat Chimaev fight when the last-minute replacements happened? And he even said, okay, I'm getting paid big bucks for this, but everyone knows that I can't wrestle. This kind of thing, especially against a high-level grappler. But I remember during the build-up for that Stephen Thompson and Kevin Holland fight, they were both talking as in the sense that you want fireworks, give me a striker. This kind of thing, how good was that fight? I remember watching the Thompson and Holland fight. I mean, that fight was insane, back and forth, all this kind of thing. And I think it honestly just depends on who he's against, to be honest. Because, I know Kevin, he can grapple a little bit, but it's not exactly his bread and butter, is it? But I think this is going to be another stand-up war. I think Kevin maybe just accepts his place. I'm an exciting fighter. I don't do grapples.
I agree. Not everyone has to be a championship level fighter. You can have these mid-range fighters who are just there for entertainment. But then we move on to Christian Rodriguez versus the youngest UFC fighter, Raul Rosas Jr. Mark, what's your prediction for this fight and why?
I think Raul is going to be able to get it done. And I hate even touching on the subject of potentially fixed fights, if you will, but when there's that much of a projection in Raul, you think, why would the UFC give him someone who can quite easily beat him in his second UFC fight officially, regardless of the Contender Series? Because it's a spectacle in itself, isn't it? When he first came in, you're like, this kid's 17, and he's not even old enough to drink and he's kicking everyone's ass. So you can imagine it just from a business point of view is they wouldn't give him someone who can quite easily knock him out this early. I mean, I hate to even touch on that subject, but I do think Raul is going to probably secure a submission quite early in the fight to keep this rocket strapped to him. Do you think Raul is going to get his second win on the main card of a UFC event?
Yeah, I think he is. Like you were saying before, certainly not fixed fights, but certainly cherry-picked opponents. Because Christian Rodriguez is a decent fighter, but he's been taken down 10 times in 3 fights and held there for a long time as well. So I feel even if Rosas cannot get a submission, I think this is a perfect opponent for him. He's going to be able to take him down and at least hold him down for 3 rounds and get that decision win. But I think you're right. I think maybe he might get another early submission. But it's a card I'm really excited for. Mark, is there any other fights that you're excited for on this card?
Well, this card is just the gift that doesn't stop giving, to be honest with you, Dwayne. The prelims are absolutely stacked as well. This is going to be one of them. It's going to be a long day for me in New Zealand. It's going to be a long night for you at home. We've got Kelvin Gastelum, the return. Geez, I mean, I feel like we've said this about 8 times with Kevin's fights. The return of Kevin Gastelum against Chris Curtis. Now, I personally would love to see Kevin Gastelum get back in the win column and get back to the fighter that we all know, recognise and miss. We've got in the women's strawweight division, Michelle Waterson trying to get back into the win column, welcoming Luana. I hope I've said that right, and I'm not going to try and pronounce the last name. Welcoming her to the UFC. Michelle's been on a little bit of a skid over the recent years, but hey, let's see if she can get back into the win column. Now, Dwayne, my boy is fighting on this card. My boy, Chris Barnett fighting Chase Sherman. Now, no one can hate Chris Barnett. I'm not having that. I don't think you're human if you don't like fights. Every single fight, it's a spectacle though, isn't it? You know, you look at I can't remember what UFC it was where he got the spinning heel kick knockout. It was his dances, it was his fight style, it was the ridiculous flip that he did and everything like that. But the thing is, that's all well and good. It's funny, but he's no joke. You know, people might just say, oh, look, you know, he makes you laugh. But yeah, but he brings it, though. He's a heavyweight that is here and he wants to stay. And, you know, look, he's beat Jake Collier, that kind of thing. And in this fight, he's going up against Chase Sherman. And I think he could well get it done again. And I really do hope he does. This one is one that I'm going to be tuning in with my bowl of Milo, dead set waiting for this. This is going to kick off my Sunday. I can't wait.
And me too. I'm incredibly excited for this card. Mark and I are going to be live streaming, so make sure you come and say hello. But I do think that's all we've got time for. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.